I still can't quite believe that this trade happened. One of the craziest trade deadline trades of all time. One of the craziest NBA trades of all time, no matter what time of year. Harden for Ben Simmons. So the full deal is that the Nets get Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks, whereas the Sixers get James Harden and Paul Millsap. If we talk about the Sixers side of this first, I think they definitely get better almost automatically by turning Simmons, who is a player who hasn't played for them this season, into James Harden, who, despite maybe being on a bit of a down year and being a bit older, is still an incredible player and gives them some of what they need with his playmaking, with his scoring, with just being such a very good all-round player. The first thing I think about is Harden and Embiid playing together. And I think, some parts of it is maybe not the best fit. Embiid isn't really a roller in the pick and roll. James Harden can't really play off ball that much. But then there's also the fact that other teams are going to have to deal with 2 of the best scorers in the NBA. Obviously Embiid with his post-ups and, with his evolution of his jump shot, is just such a dangerous scorer. He's the leading scorer in the league right now. And then James Harden, we know what he can do from 3. We'll see if the getting to the rim part of it and getting to the free throw line, he can still do that. And I think between Harden and Embiid, they're actually going to be able to shoot a ton of free throws and get to the free throw line a ton. If I think of actions with them together, maybe Embiid does become a bit more of a roller in the pick and roll, and they run pick and roll. I think they can run pick and pop because Embiid can shoot. I think of being able to stagger them too, which is also a very viable option where you always have one great offensive player on the floor. And if I think of the rest of the starting lineup, Tobias Harris now going back to the third option, which is probably more natural to him. Tyrese Maxey, you would hope that he still gets a good amount of possessions and that he's still involved because he's been really good for them, averaging 17 points a game in his second season. He has also shot well from 3, so he can spot up. You have Danny Green, who's a solid role player. You have Matisse Thybulle, who I hope they give more minutes because, he would sort of be the only non-shooter in a lineup of Maxey, Harden, Thybulle, Harris, and Embiid. And he could defend the other team's best player, can give them defense. So, hopefully this trade means that he gets more minutes. And just overall, it's a team that I think can be really good offensively and defensively, and that fits pretty well together. Though I think there are a few issues with the Harden and Embiid fit, but you get 2 such talented players like that. I think they'll be able to overcome that. If I think of the playoffs and Harden's playoff struggles paired with Doc Rivers maybe not being a great playoff coach, that could be a bit of an issue. But I think, you still have Embiid and Harden, maybe now where Embiid is taking some of the pressure off him. And I think that works both ways where, it's just going to be a lot more for the defense that has to worry about. And I think they could be a really dynamic offense. And you still have guys like Tyrese Maxey and Tobias Harris, who I think will be really good complementary options and can relieve the burden on on Harden and Embiid for a few games. So yeah, overall, I think for the Sixers to get Harden, it's a huge get because he's such a good player. And then for the Nets side of things, I think when you look at the return they got for Harden, this is pretty good. Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. If they had to trade Harden, I think they could have done a lot worse. I think if they have Kyrie, I think they need to figure out the home games thing. Then, I don't know how much worse this makes them, and I don't even know if it makes them worse if they have Kyrie, because the fit, you get Ben Simmons, who is a great defender, which is one of their biggest weaknesses. He's a good playmaker, but he doesn't want to shoot the ball, which, that can be an issue in the playoffs, but it's something they need, playmaking. And yeah, he's a good rebounder. He can do almost everything on the basketball court except for shoot and score. And that's sort of the type of player that the Nets need. If I think of him on the floor with Kyrie and KD and, maybe Seth Curry, I think of a lot of shooting around him. You have the KD and Kyrie piece of it. You have Seth Curry, you have Patty Mills, you have Joe Harris if he gets back. those are some really good shooters that you can put around Ben Simmons, and you can have the optimal spacing. I think of him being able to run in transition, and I think of him in the half court, playing in the Bruce Brown role, where he can set screens, where he can roll to the rim, where sometimes he might just be standing in the dunker spot in the corner, and obviously that's not great. But you have skilled scorers like KD and Kyrie, where that's not too much of a problem. But we'll see. I hope Nash can get him involved in actions where he does have the ball, or he's screening off ball and creating problems for the defense. And then Seth Curry, I think he's a good spot up guy. I think he'll give them some good scoring, especially in this stretch with KD out. Because the Nets, they are in the play-in, so they're going to have to start stringing together a few wins here in the regular season. But I think Seth Curry is a solid pickup for them, and I actually think Drummond could be really good for them, just because they sort of need a center. They have a lot of centers, but none of them they haven't really settled on any of them. Claxton, he's young, he has potential. Blake Griffin has taken a step back this season. Aldridge isn't very good defensively. If Drummond can play hard, and I don't know how many minutes it is, but he gives them rebounds, and offensively, he can set a screen. So you'd hope that would help out the Nets. But overall, I think the Nets, they did well in getting some stuff back for Harden. And I think they got a lot of stuff back for Harden. So overall, who won the trade? I mean, if you just look at it, with no context, I think you'd probably say the Nets, because they got a player who's a lot younger in Ben Simmons. They got two good role players in Seth Curry and Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round picks. But if you look at it through the lens of the Nets just turned a player who hasn't played for them all season, and who was a problem in the playoffs, into James Harden. The Sixers just turned, you guys know what I mean. Then you'd say the Sixers probably win the trade, or at least don't lose the trade. So overall, I'd say, I think it's a pretty even trade. I'd probably say the Nets win it slightly. If I were to do like a trade grades, I'd say, maybe a B plus for the Nets, and a B minus for the Sixers. But anyways, thanks for watching. Leave a like and subscribe.